How big can I get my heart to be?
Thought Media Network proudly presents
How much love can I get flowing out of me?
the Real Talk Sisters. Deep, unfiltered, soulful conversations with Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, Reverend Kim Andrews, and Reverend Melinda Wood Allen.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Join us for Real Talk on Real Issues. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock Mountain. And now, let's join the Real Talk Sisters.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Hello, love.
Hello there. How are you, Miss PJ?
I am doing well. How about you, Miss Kim?
I am doing great and always excited to be here and have this conversation.
It's wonderful. Really great. Yeah. Ah,
So I am Kim Andrews, spiritual leader at Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe, in Saxe, Texas. And I do love these experiences,
yes.
mostly because I love being with PJ and Melinda. I love the talks. I've always loved our talks. And, you know, it's just a blessing that from the time we met and created this trio of sister ministers, friends. It's so much deeper than friends. A place where we could, a safe space where we could just be ourselves, talk, vent, nurture each other, challenge each other with love, just be there for each other, talk, not talk, cry, not cry, laugh. Oh, God,
Yes.
laughter and joy amongst us. And, you know, this very special place that we live in. And so it's always nice to collaborate. We've done other things together. We've done
We have.
workshops together.
Yeah.
We've sang together, and all of it is just beautiful and wonderful. So it's one of the
We
great
go to retreats
joys.
together. We belong to organizations together.
Yeah.
We just it's a lot of togetherness, and we still don't get sick of each other.
That's
It's a lot of togetherness.
In fact, we love each other even more than 6 years ago.
It's amazing. My name is Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, and I am the Senior Minister of Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth. And much like Kim, I am just so grateful to be here. I love this show. I love talking, and this is real talk. This is how we talk to each other, with each other, to everyone. It's how we don't pull punches. We tell things as we see them, and we're open to hearing how other people see them. It's really an adventure in spirit. To me, this is an adventure in spirit where we talk about what can or can't work, what does or doesn't work, what we're learning, what we're growing. There's no rights or wrongs. There's just it is what it is, and we just talk about what is in a real way, not what's supposed to be, but what actually is. And we cry in front of each other, just snot running and tears flying, and it's
We pass tissues. We give hugs.
oh my gosh, it's a beautiful thing, and I wish this for everyone to have this kind. And this is really one of the reasons why we wanted to create this Real Talk Sister, so that you all can have a place to come, leave comments, make statements, whatever you want to do or say or be here with us. We just wanted to share this love with all of you. So thank you to those who come and watch us live, who look later and see what we have to say. You can always make comments. We're always responding. And of course, you can email us at realtalksisters@gmail.com for any thoughts that you have. And also look at our website, realtalksisters.com. So thank you guys so much. There it is. Thank you. And that's a wonderful producer is listening and just responding to what we're saying right now. So thank you all so much, for being here. Thanks, Kim. So what are we doing today?
I wanted to say our third person who's not here today, Melinda Wood Allen, who's senior minister at Church of One Love in Farmers Branch.
Cool church, what we call it.
Taken some much needed time off, and we're very happy for her, very relieved that she is taking care of herself. And so that's another one of the things we do for each other is we support them. We talk to each other about the self-care, and we are a part of each other's self-care. So we are very glad that she is off doing some things that she loves.
Absolutely.
And take advantage of some time and have somebody who's taking care of home.
Yes.
and her beloved Bob. So yes, we're missing her, and we know that she needs to do this. So we're very happy to be here, the two of us. So we're
Absolutely.
continuing our conversation, new thought on healing, and having some conversations about healing, not just about illness or disease, but about everything in life, because everything that either plagues us, challenges us, um, gives us pause, patterns that we have, all of this is about healing. And I believe, and I do believe it for me, and that's been my experience, it's about stepping more fully into my divinity and experiencing that, and using spiritual principle and spiritual practice to heal the parts of me that need healing.
Yes. Yes.
And so these are important conversations to have. So we're having them on all levels, even though we are talking about physical disease and things like that, because that's a huge thing for many people. And
For many people.
I don't know if it's just getting older, but it seems like most of my conversations these days usually end up in the what's wrong with my body category.
Right. Right.
And
But actually,
what
yeah,
about
and actually, we're starting to get younger people into the center, which I'm just really so excited about, because I feel like one of the things that when I finally discovered, stumbled into a new thought arena, the question I think most people say, "Oh my stars, why didn't I know about this earlier?" So it's so exciting to me to see young people come into the center with all their wonderful questions and things like that. So they're talking about healing their hearts, healing their hurts,
Mhm.
healing the misunderstanding about how life is supposed to work. And so we just get to be a part of all of that. And I'm so excited to be able to do that, to be really reparenting myself as I help them get through some things. I'm working through things myself. And as Kim and I were talking earlier, it's not something, this healing process and this looking at what needs to be healed within you. It's not something that ever goes away. I don't believe. I think we'll be doing this to the grave and then to the next life, if there is one, whatever your beliefs are around that. But it's a constant decision, and it's constant work to
Mhm.
say, and good work, joyful work, spiritual work, but work nonetheless, to heal ourselves, and to re-heal ourselves, and to fix the healing that we did previously. So it's just,
Yeah, there's that question. Wow, I thought I dealt with that.
I thought I dealt with that.
Thought I
Yeah, and
dealt
here
with
it
that.
is
And here it
again.
is again. Yeah.
Here it is again. Here it is
Yeah.
again. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think what we've recognized, and this is definitely a conversation the three of us have had,
Yeah.
that, now I am healing on a different level, on a deeper level, or
Yes.
I know things now that I didn't know then. And so I am embracing my healing and the healing journey with new information, or I'm discovering more things about myself. And I know as
Yeah.
I venture into different things in my life and say yes to spirit about what's brought to me,
Yes.
that usually something comes up to heal in that process. And
Yeah.
what I've learned is that healing happens in the process.
Yes.
Before I used to think, oh, you get healed before you go in, but I think that whatever it is we're called to, we are called to so that we can heal. And then we
Exactly.
use that healing to bring forth a more expanded expression,
Yes. An
no matter
experience
what it
of
is.
life.
Because certainly stepping into ministry has been a huge healing experience for me. Huge, huge, huge. Did I say
It's so,
huge?
yeah. Can I
Healing?
yeah. How, who, if anyone had said to me, when I was taking on the ministry, that the work was within me, I would have said, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, what
What?
now?
I'm sorry. Because I would have thought that it was about me, and it is. It's about me helping people to discover what the work is that they want, that they desire to do and have come true in their life. But as I'm working with them, the light is being shown on what's going on within me as well. So
Yeah.
it is such a dual purpose to this ministry. And I think anything that we do, if we start to realize this, any help, assistance, whatever that you're giving to someone, is it really for them? Is it
Really? Yeah.
really?
Think again. Think
Yeah,
again.
yeah. And I think that might be like the ego part of us that allows us to get into it in the first place. And we're thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to go help this poor baby. And then it turns out that you were the poor baby.
Oh, it's me.
Oh,
Oh,
shoot.
oh,
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that, for easing me into that.
yeah,
Because,
yeah.
if you had straight out said, the spirit had straight out said, you need to work on this, girlfriend. I'm sorry, what? No. 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 Mm-mm. No, thanks. Oh, you want to have somebody else? Well, you think I'm up for that. I can do that.
Yeah. Leave my stuff alone.
Leave me alone. I'm not in it to help me. I'm in it to help you, them.
And here we are, 6 years later, healing
Yeah.
ourselves
The
as we
healing is
invite. And
ongoing.
usually, what I think is, I'm healing myself, and I invite others to heal in the same arena if they want to.
Exactly. If it's speaking to
And
you,
if you
if it
don't, that's cool.
resonates, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay. Everybody comes at their own time and their own space. I just say what I say. We just do what we're doing. It may or may not work for you. That's okay. It's all right. It'll be something you can reflect back on later if you want to. It's all right. All good. But I think
yeah,
that's part of the healing process, to come to terms with what that actually means. And what that process looks like for you. And you finished the conversation last week. You dropped a little piece there, and I really wanted to come back to that. We were talking about that this term is just healing and curing. Not necessarily the same thing.
um, I took a course probably 5 years ago now, healing and wholeness, and taught by Ellen Debenport, who's now, I believe, director of communications at Unity Worldwide. And she's a wonderful teacher, wonderful teacher. And one of the things we talked about was healing versus cure. And so the consensus was that healing is about consciousness and your spirit, and that cure is about the body. So cure is, here's a diagnosis, and now it's a few weeks, months, years, whatever, it's now done. But that doesn't mean you've made any advances in consciousness or within your own spiritual being. You might come out of the cure just as cantankerous, unyielding, closed-minded,
Yes.
as
Yes.
you were when you walked in. And so that would be considered a cure, not a healing.
Yes.
And especially when we talked about someone saying having a diagnosis, and there is a period of time where they're dealing with this. So many things happen, but what happens if, especially if we're praying for somebody to get well,
Right.
and then they die?
Right.
And so many things come up in that. So one of it is that we might be praying for this person to be well again, and if they don't, then does that mean your prayer wasn't answered?
That's the question. That's the
Or if you're
confusion.
going to say all the time, gee, if they do get cured, then you say, oh, God is good, my prayer was answered. If they had died, is God not still good?
Right.
And what about answered prayer then?
Right. Right.
So
Fabulous
do you
question.
still say, oh, God is good all the time if we're at the funeral and what you prayed for has not happened?
Right.
Because that person has now passed away. And what actually are we praying for? Because we don't have control over the other person's consciousness.
Nope.
And they may not want to live any longer. They may be done. And with the experience I've had lately with loved ones of my own who have died, and some of my reading and some of issues, thinking about my own mortality, thinking about, and as my understanding, the God of my understanding has evolved in my head.
Correct.
I believe subconsciously or consciously that we choose when we go.
Okay.
That's kind of where I am with that. But I'm open to other
Exactly.
understandings. as I
Exactly.
grow in spirituality. But I do think there's a whole lot of choice in this, because I know people who have chosen and have said, I'm done. And then very soon after, they were gone.
They were gone. They were gone. Exactly.
And they just chose not to be here.
Yeah, they were done. Whatever their journey was, their spiritual journey, all of the journey, this time on this place and this plane was finished for them, and they were good with it. I know that my grandmother, there's longevity in my family. I had a great aunt who was 114, and she passed away when they brought her in. She was part Indian. She passed away when they built an extra space onto their home to bring her inside. She lived outside in a tent her whole life. And at 114, they insisted that she come inside. That was for their comfort, not hers, for
Yes.
hers. And she knew all of us. She knew who I was, who my mother was. She knew who everybody was. She was so smart. She was blind, but she knew us. I don't know about the smell or walk. I don't know. As soon as we walked into her space, she knew we were there. She was just so there. But I mean, not within a week after, seriously, a week after she moved into the space and she didn't want to go in, she passed away. So to me, it just seems like she just said, I don't, if I have to go inside, I don't want to be here. I don't know. But that seems like that's what happened. It seems like that's what happened. And my sister and I, my sister is a caterer, and we do funerals and memorials and weddings and lots of different reunions where lots of people get together. So we're doing one this Friday for, I had to write this down, centenarian. She's a centenarian whose children passed before her, and some of her grandchildren passed before her. And they had a genetic mutation, a genetic disease of sickle cell anemia. Now, that's a genetic mutation that is there to cure another disease, malaria. That's what that's in the system for. So, right. So how do you cure a cure? Right. So all of these things. I'm just my point coming back to you is when people decide. I believe you're correct. I think about myself and I think about what's going on in my mind about life and death, and there are things that I want to do and things that I want to be, and I want to be here. Whether I will, I won't, I don't know. But I want to be here till I'm at least 100, because there are just so many things that I want to do. I can't see it getting done before then. That's all. And it's like, once it's done, I'm okay with standby. I'm okay with it. And I might go sooner. I don't know. This is just what we can conceive of, what's in our hearts and our minds and what's in our spiritual lives. So to say to someone that the cure, that we're praying for the cure for you, when that may not be what they're looking for. It's a personal journey. It's a personal journey of how they decide whether they want to be healed, and meaning getting okay with whatever is going on in their lives, that their spiritual life is healed, or they get a cure for the disease that they have. I don't know. But these are the questions. These are the thoughts.
And I am also coming to the realization that perhaps that we choose our path before we get here, and that there may be experiences that we want to have while we're here on the physical plane. And I also, especially after taking this advanced consciousness class, that perhaps we make agreements with other people to come to play a particular part in their lives, and maybe they're playing a particular part for us. And so for some, it may be like, you think about infants that die.
Yes.
That sometimes their illness and a death, no matter how days, because I've read articles or watched documentaries about people who's, they had 12 hours with their child before they passed. And in that time, something happened to the people around them.
I can imagine.
And so they may have come just for that 12 hours to serve a purpose for that group of people who were involved in that experience with them. And who knows about that? So I think that could be if when I, my understanding of God and God is goodness and benevolence, that perhaps, and the fact that we have free will, that
Yes. Yes.
that could be very possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this healing may be that, how many times have you heard somebody say, gosh, getting cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me because I
Many times.
healed some things. I came to a new understanding of life, of love, of God, of myself, of
Yes.
my relationships, and maybe some relationships went away, maybe other relationships were deepened. Certainly what I've heard or read, not heard, but read from people who went through an experience like that, was cancer or something else, but some kind of what we think is devastating disease.
Yes.
But
Yes.
they had huge spiritual or personal, not necessarily spiritual all the time, or personal reckoning and evolution that they probably would not have had without the disease.
Right.
Or without the challenge, no matter what the challenge is. For some people, it's going bankrupt. I had a good friend who committed a crime and was in prison for 4 years.
Wow.
And he said, man, that calmed me down. He said it made me rethink who I am. It made me think about the path I was on, how far down the road. He said, I don't know that I would have stopped some of the personally destructive behavior
Yes.
if that had not happened.
Exactly. Exactly.
His entire relationship with God was turned on a 180.
Absolutely.
And so, when you think of that, and that was hard for him. I mean, he was used to a really good life. He was quite wealthy. But he knows that he was making some huge mistakes in living outside of what he said his beliefs were, out of alignment totally with his beliefs. And he said, man, this made me get in alignment. He found out who his friends were and who they were not.
My goodness.
A lot of people went away.
Right.
He said, man, they were not my friends. They were not my friends.
We are going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about the possible contracts that we have coming here. Who knows about that? Just what you learned, the wake-up calls that we get through our lives, through our experiences. What are our experiences for? I think they're to wake us up for something. That's what I think. But anyway, we'll just take a quick break and be back to talk about some of those things.
Yes.
All right. So we're back and just some lovely discussion about healing and cure and what it exactly means. And I want to just come back to this place where you were talking about, maybe we're here contracted, who knows, to help each other through. Maybe the reason why we're here is to help someone else, to help each other. I don't know. But I know that when I'm in my meditation and prayer in the morning, one of the things that has just started to be a part of my day every single morning is to thank all the people that have come through my life, whether I've known them or not. And all the people who, because of their lives, their sacrifice, whatever they've done, my life is better. And I thank them for that. The women's rights, the rights of Blacks, the people who actually were in my life physically, my first husband, and all that I learned from him, my mother, my dad, and all the pain that they went through in their lives. And yet what I learned from their experiences and just the way they love me. So I think, I just feel like, I wonder when we're supposed to be here together, because I feel so thankful and grateful to them for being in my life. And even the ones I don't even know, But I know that I'm living a better life because of people coming here and doing what was theirs to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I feel like that's probably right. Whether we know it or not, we are all living here the way that we live and the choices that we get to make because of the sacrifices people that came before us did by living their life fully, by living
Yeah.
their life. And even if they didn't live it fully, even if they didn't live it as fully as it could have, the experiences that they did go through still taught us things. Still
Mm-hmm.
taught us things about addiction. My brother and my first husband were addicted. All kinds of things that we learn from the people that come before us. So I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things that helped me heal some relationships was that I heard, and this was through a class with Reverend Michael Gott of Unity of Houston. Again, wonderful spiritual leader and teacher. And he talked about this philosophy about people coming in to our lives to play the villain, whether it's on an international, national, or personal level,
Exactly.
to help us with our personal growth. And that perhaps that's an agreement they make or we make together as souls before we come here in the physical world. And, I thought of that because a lot of what I learned from my mother was what I didn't want to be, what I didn't
Right.
want to do. Not that she was not
Correct.
a wonderful
No,
person,
no,
she was.
no. Yeah.
Many, many people in her life, but she had, because of her upbringing and her family of origin, had a lot of trauma around family, which means she brought a lot of that pain into our family, into with her children and her husband. And when I became an adult and I understood that, then I had a lot of compassion for her and for
Absolutely.
all of us as a family. But then when I heard that again, and I thought, gosh, I mean, it kind of changed everything for me when I thought of her and I thought of our relationship. And because she did spur me on and inspired me to be some things through that difficulty that we had together.
Exactly.
My experience of her as a hurt person
Yes. Yes.
now with her own family.
Yes.
And yeah, so that was huge for me. And I think so she had 2 strokes, and I think I've talked about a little bit, I'm sure I have, over the weeks we've been together on this show. But when she had her strokes, and I think one of the reasons why she probably had those strokes was that was a healing time for us. Those
Right.
strokes killed her.
Right.
They killed her. Her mind was taken. She had, a small stroke, and then a devastating stroke, and then successive brain bleeds after that destructive, devastating stroke. But over that time, she and I had a healing of hearts and a healing of our relationship, even though for a lot of that she could not communicate with me. And I don't believe
Amazing.
those last 2, probably 3 weeks of her life when she couldn't speak, that we communicated better than we ever had.
Isn't that
Certainly
amazing?
our love for each other
Yes.
more than we ever had. And that period gave me a chance to come back. So for her, I do believe that stroke was a healing time, even though she died from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Body just gave up. And at some point, when the brain is that damaged, it can't sustain the
It
body.
can't.
And
Right.
so it's interesting. I believe there was a healing there and there was no cure.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a wonderful example of that. I've talked about, my father's passing, and he couldn't speak to me. But there was something beautiful and spiritually awakened about our last moments together, our last bit of time that we had together. And we just sat there, and I spoke and talked with him and read to him. And every now and again, he could look at me and signal for something, and I could understand it. And there just was no, I don't think we ever communicated as well before as we did then during that time when he couldn't actually speak. And yet we seem to have spoken volumes to each other. And it wasn't just in my mind. I mean, I could see by the way he would look at me. And I would just touch his arm or something. And we had never done that before as adults. We just never done that.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's just that the healing, I'm just so into that healing part doesn't necessarily mean that the body is going to be able to respond or react the way we want, but a healing still takes place. It still takes place. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a powerful thing to contemplate. And I know, those last 6 weeks with my mother was probably one of the most painful times of my life
absolutely.
because of what she went through, decisions, I needed to make, just watching that whole thing happen. Um, and it was also a very, very sacred time. I
Yes,
mean, I felt
yes.
God in the room all the time, even through the difficulty, with my friends who came and supported me. All of that was just, I mean, it brings goosebumps up now. And,
Mhm.
I can feel my heart opening and just kind of flooding, just thinking about that time again. But there was so much love and so much grace and sacredness during that time. And I think all of us got healed in some way through that experience with my mother.
Yeah.
Uh, I have friends who came and visited me in hospice who now remember that, and we may have only been together an hour or so in hospice, and they came to visit me or came to see my mother, and they said for them that was powerful. That
Isn't that
1 hour,
something?
so they
Yeah,
were there.
yeah,
Just an amazing thing. So
yeah. It
I
is.
think if we're in the moment again, we've talked about that so often here, in the moment, if we're willing to be curious and open, then we can experience something on a much different level than what the world tells us it's
Yeah,
going to be.
yeah.
Because
And
the
I'm
world tells us those times are just bad, and you don't want to have them. We hope they're over quickly, and everything should come out pretty.
exactly. And the
And yet,
fact is that it comes out beautifully. And there's just this whole, we keep talking. The reason well, I don't know the reason. My thoughts are,
mm,
that we're looking for a cure as opposed to a healing because of the fear of dying, the fear of laying this body down. But we all come in here knowing that's going to happen.
I
It has
know.
happened, and it's never been a time when it hasn't happened. It's
Mhm.
going to happen. So then, if that's the case, we know the body is going to lay down. We know that. That everything between the birth and the lying down of the body, the coming of the body into this plane and the lying down of the body out of this plane has to be about healing the spiritual, the soul within us. It has to be about that. It has to be about that. And I'm thinking that the experiences that we have on this plane, and yes, maybe we come, I don't know, none of us are, well, maybe some of us are, maybe some of us are more spiritually attuned to the afterlife or what came before us, but we can't say for sure, but we know it, whether we can say for sure, whether we have the experience, whether we can just like take a picture of it and say, yes, that person was dead, they rose back up.
Mhm.
We don't
Mhm.
have that. And yet
Yeah.
we still know that that is the case. It has to be. And one of the things that makes me think about, we keep we what makes me believe that we return again and again because there's too much to know. There's
Yeah.
entirely too much to know about life,
Mm.
and we're only going to understand life from the perspective of the time we have to be here, and 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 the experiences that we have that bring us to putting down the falseness of who we are and living in the spiritual place that we are. That's kind of a hidden, it's so hidden within us, and this is so real. This is so real, we think this is the whole thing,
Mhm.
but it isn't. And not until we go through the experiences of harm or hurt or fear or whatever those are do we then come closer to, oh, this is what it's really about. And we have a very short period of time to learn that, so then we come back. We come back. That's what I really believe is happening, but it may or may not. But I believe it's happening. I do.
Yeah,
It just
I
doesn't
agree.
make
And
any sense other way.
I think the physical life is the tip of the iceberg that we see above the water.
Exactly.
Everything
Exactly.
else is that
Yes.
huge part of the 90% of the iceberg that you don't see under the
Yes.
water. And I really do believe now that we have this unlimited consciousness,
Yes.
and perhaps that this physical world is where we get to experiment and try things and
Exactly.
grow and say, okay, in this next lifetime, I think I want to go through this. And oh my gosh, I had this experience of this person or that person, and then possibly make agreements. I think that's all fascinating to contemplate.
It is.
And
It is.
so when I think of my own mortality, I think now that, first of all, I've gotten through everything else in life, and this too, and those things too did pass. So will that.
Exactly. We know this. It's this
You
too
know,
shall pass.
so no
We know
matter when
this.
it comes up, if I am aware that it's coming or whatever, that that I will be open and say, see you on the next side, maybe,
See you again.
or
Yeah.
something like that, or see you in a different capacity. Because I
Correct.
think we've all been around people and it felt like we knew them
Yes.
before. And I think,
Yes.
and I've had people say to me, oh, we might have been um, soulmates, not always about a love relationship,
No,
but
no, no,
friends or
no.
something, or in a
Yes.
family together in
Correct.
some other lifetime. Because I know
Right.
people who delve into that, like past life
Yes.
regressions and stuff like that.
Mm.
So it's just all
No, it's
fascinating
just
to
what you think about how quickly the three of us came
me.
together and have never parted from that. Have not parted from that. We have loved each other. We continue to love each other. When I knew that I was going to do this ministry, I said to Spirit, I need help. I need you to bring me some ladies that can walk with me through this. And Spirit said, all right, there you go. And so I feel like we were already meant to do that together because it's just so easy. It's
Yeah.
so easy for us to be together, and there's just no conflict or, I mean, it's just so much love there. So yeah, and when I hear things like when I hear people say stuff like "you must be an old soul,"
Mhm.
and that comes, I think, from people who, and again, no proof, but just what makes sense to me is that they have been here a few times, and so their soul is comforted, their soul is calm. They're not they're not just worried about no, because they've been here before. They know, and they
Mhm.
may not know consciously know, but the soul knows, and so they're very calm. hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
the soul knows. Yeah, so they're very calm. I don't know. These are clues.
Mhm.
These are clues about what this life is about, and for us to rail against the learning. This is a thing that we the learning is here. The learning is for us. It's not for anybody else but for us individually and collectively. There's no point. There's no use in railing against it. It's going to come sooner or later.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's come-
One
so,
of, one of the other things we wanted to talk about is in my class, Advanced Consciousness, Reverend James Mellon um, from the Global Truth Center in California said that they, in his community, they don't do healing circles anymore. They do
oh
revealing.
right.
And so, of course, there were some people I'd never heard that before, but it
No,
immediately fascinated me. And he
yes,
said, because they're really, depending on what you believe about the soul, that there is nothing to heal because our essence is perfection, if you want to call it that, not
hmm
perfection we think of here on the physical plane, but that we are whole, perfect, and complete. And because all that God is, we are. There is nothing to heal there. And so part of dealing with dis-ease or something that is going on in our life, whether it's dis-ease of our prosperity lives, our physical lives, our health and well-being, whether it is some mental issue, emotional issue, that it's about revealing our divine magnificence and embracing that again and letting that do its work.
yes,
And so, in that case, if we can get to that realization, healing can happen in an instant.
yes.
It doesn't have to take 6 months, but
No,
it all depends on how quickly we make what we talked about in that class as a quantum leap from, oh, I forgot who I am.
that part.
I
That
forgot who and
part.
what I am. And
Yes,
that means all of this other stuff like Myrtle Fillmore, I'm a child of God, I do not inherit sickness.
Right.
And so what she had to work on and what, others have worked on, what I'm working on in some areas of my life is getting back to that child of God. And for me, it is that all that God is, I am. That's my mantra now. All that God is, I am.
Right.
And embracing that as fully as I can in this moment and in every moment, because I say that to myself so many times through the day.
Me too.
All that God is, I am.
Yes. Yes.
So I have on
Everything
my
is available to me through the mind of God in me. Yes.
I often put on
Yeah.
my phone an affirmation or something I'm working on. So now my lock screen says, no situation or circumstance has power over me. Every day in an area of my life, I live from my divine nature where I'm wholly and completely free.
Exactly.
And I have a picture of an eagle soaring.
Exactly.
And so for me, revealing my magnificence, my divine magnificence is getting back to that. And so I will say, whatever it is I'm going through today that I seem to be challenged by, my spiritual beingness is far more powerful than that.
Right.
There is nothing on this physical plane that is more powerful than my divine nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when I get to that, then I say, oh, okay, so this could actually be a small thing. This doesn't have to take the rug out from under me.
Right.
This doesn't have to turn my life upside down. This isn't my life. This is a facet of something, and I need to get to the right consciousness about it. And then I'll know exactly what my next step is.
Exactly. And so every morning in the prayer and meditation that I do, it's remember who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the truth of you.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning I remind myself of who I am and what is possible for me through the mind of God that is in me.
Yeah.
That is me. It's
Yeah.
every morning. Remind myself of that so that I don't walk into the world and have fear. Oh, what's in my bank account? Oh, what? No, doesn't matter what's there. What's in the universe? What's available to me? What's being drawn to me?
Yeah.
And so we'll get back to that in a moment. We have to take a quick break, but let's come back to that and remembering who we are.
2:42 p.m. already.
Can you believe it?
Yes.
And so, we're talking about just remembering who we are, knowing who we are. And I love that the healing circles that you guys have, instead of healing circles, it's revealing circles. That is a beautiful, I love that. And I love that. I think actually I'd like to start using that instead of having, do you need a healing prayer? Do you need a revealing prayer? I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely the truth, because the truth is already there. You don't need it to be fixed. You need to be revealed and uncovered. Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember. Yeah. Remember.
Yeah. And I think this stems back to, which we've talked about before, and which I think everything stems back to, is what is the God? Who is the God of your understanding?
Yes.
And so if you believe in a God that gives and takes, that punishes and rewards, that decides not to give you grace or give grace, and that maybe he or she is an entity that's got like the marionette strings.
Correct. Yeah.
So all of this has evolved for me as my understanding of God has evolved.
Exactly.
And my relationship with that God.
Yes.
And so I think it serves all of us to sit down and really think about, what do you believe about God? And then from that, what do I believe about life? And what do I believe about me?
Exactly. What are these truths?
All of this. Because it changed everything on its head when I thought about God differently.
Absolutely.
And really started to have, and now the words relationship with don't make sense, because I don't think of me and God as dual entities. We are one thing.
Yes.
And so that changes my language. It changes what I think about God. It does mean that, yes, revealing circles make sense as opposed to healing circles.
Yes.
Because if I truly believe that all that God is, I am, that changes a lot of things for me.
Yeah, exactly. And so you begin to just speak the truth. You're not invoking the truth. You're not praying for the truth to come in. You're simply revealing the truth that's already within you. It's already there. It's a revelation. It's a revelation. It's not a. And one of the things that we struggle with because of the paradigms that we live under, the rules of life that people talk about, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, there's not enough, the pie isn't big enough, you're taking too much, all these things. We have this feeling of being deserving. Like the only way you're going to be blessed, the only way that prayers are going to come is that somehow you've done something.
Yes.
To deserve your prayers to be answered. And that, I think, was where some of the shame and blame comes in, and where people get angry because they haven't been cured, because they believe that we're saying to them, well, you don't deserve to be cured, or you haven't done enough. That's why God hasn't blessed you. And that is not the God of my understanding, because you are the God of your understanding. You are already there. So you bless yourself. You already say, I'm not just healed. I am revealed as a perfect being. It's already perfect. It's already done. My life is already abundant. I don't need to know where it comes from. It comes from the universe. It comes from the abundance of the universe, and it comes to me. And I say thank you. Great gratitude, I think, is a big deal. But I say thank you because it's just continual, and it's not dependent upon me behaving in a certain way, holding my mouth in a certain way, making sure that I don't, just holding myself all caught up in something. It's not about that. It's about being free to be who I am. And so these are just wonderful, revealing things. And so what I wrote this little note to myself, because I really liked it, that when we talk to Spirit and we say, this is what I want in my life. Bring this to me. Because the prayer for me is, reveal to me how what are my steps? Reveal to me the steps to increase, to bring in, to do whatever it is I'm doing. And so a lot of times we feel like we have to do, in order to get something, we have to do something. Do to get, instead of get to do. We don't have to do to get. We get to do. We get to be. And that's a whole different thing. We don't have to do anything. You just simply have to be the God that you are.
There's nothing to earn.
There's nothing to earn. Just allow it.
Yes.
You're already qualified. You're already qualified. So you have to allow it. Our whole thing is allowing, revealing, allowing, accepting, saying yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so we do have these paradigms. That's the work on this earth for people who don't know that and the truth, and that particular paradigm that we get born into. That life is hard. You have to be deserving, all those paradigms and laws and rules that we get born into. And then we go about our lives letting go of that and letting the real truth be revealed by discovering something like this, New Thought, who actually encourages us to know God for ourselves, which I love. Yeah.
One of the things that took me decades to shed was that my parents seemed to live under this belief that if something good happens, just wait for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly that.
So I went through my entire first 30, probably 35 years of my life thinking, well, you can't get too excited about something good that happens because the other shoe is going to drop. And then at some point I said, what shoe? There's no shoe. You all made up the shoe. That was their experience. And because they believed they had to earn or qualify for good.
Or not even get too happy because the shoe is going to drop. You can't be too happy.
Can't be too happy. That's sinful. Don't get excited about this because that too shall pass. And the Buddhists are there too, but it doesn't mean that that good things don't happen. It means don't run away with it and then think that's all there is. Because then we do this. We're on that roller coaster through life. But, at some point I said, there is no shoe for me.
Damn the shoe.
Heck with the shoe. What other shoe? Where'd you get that from? You made that stuff up.
You made it up. You made it up.
I have a new
Made it up.
version of life. And the
Hello?
subtitle is There Is No Shoe. There's no other
There's
shoe.
no shoe. Yeah, that's a book. You need to write that. There is no shoe.
Stop that. And so every time I go in there, I say, stop that.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know there's
It's
no other
actually,
shoe.
there's no shoe,
Unless you want one. If you want the other shoe, it can be there.
but it's not necessary. Not necessary. So stop calling that in and go ahead and be joyful and rejoice in the good. It's because you're rejoicing in the good doesn't mean, you're calling in some ugly thing because you're just too happy about this good thing.
So that
No.
means, you got to bring it down because nobody should be that happy. What?
What?
We are. Yes, we are. So I remember my niece and I think my sister was still alive when we talked about that. She was, because we named it the Dream Killers. That's terrible. But we had to learn that there were some things we couldn't take to my parents and celebrate, but we could take it to each other.
Yeah.
Because if
Exactly.
we did it, I could call my mom or something like that, tell her about them, and she would say, "Yeah, well." I remember I bought was it my car or somebody's car? It was a brand new car, and they were all excited about it. And she looked at a picture of it, and she said, "But look at that, the windshield, the back windshield's way too big. So if somebody rear ends them, there's just gonna be glass off." And I thought,
Wow. Way to kill a dream,
I
Mom.
said, yeah,
Thanks.
automatically went to the thing. So
Yeah.
I can't
Well,
tell
I
you how
think we call
many
them
times.
dream snatchers. That's what we
Oh
call
my
them. Dream
gosh,
snatchers.
dream
Yeah.
snatchers. That's what it
Instead of
was.
dream catchers, is dream snatchers. Yes.
Dream snatchers. And
Dream snatchers.
I could always tell my sister would call or my niece, or I would call them, and I would say, "Well,
Well,
call mom or dad."
my
And they said,
bad.
"Oh, you talked to the dream snatchers, huh?" Or I would say, "Yep, they ripped the sails off my sailboat. I'm just
And so, yeah,
in
and
the
so you
water."
just
And they said,
learn
"When
how
are you
to.
gonna learn?" "Okay, tell me what
Yes,
it is." And we would happy dance for each other and have a good
exactly.
time and celebrate it.
Exactly.
But that was a healing for me. That was a
Right.
huge healing for me. That was so I could choose to have a shoe that drops after every time I have something wonderful happen,
Or,
or I could decide there's no shoe. But
right.
we can just have unmitigated joy.
Exactly. How about that?
How about
So,
that?
so you know that they had this whole thing about letting go of my PT Cruiser, which I love, but Lord have mercy, I needed to release it. And then immediately, the Lexus came into my life. And so, I've had it for a little while. It's a car. It's a mechanical thing. It's going to need gas and oil. It's just like we need water and food, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm going somewhere and the air's starting to overheat. And then, you know what? There's a mechanic right around the corner.
Mhm.
I'm gonna drop it off and tell him, you know what? Look over the whole car because I just got it. Just look over the whole car and tell me what needs to happen. And then Spirit will show me how to take care of it. Will just show me how to
Mhm.
pay for it.
Mhm.
That's it. I'm not going to. Oh, see, I knew. Too good
Mhm.
to be true. No, I'm not doing that. It wasn't too good to be true. It is a beautiful gift, and the universe is abundant. Continues to be abundant. It was abundant about that coming my way. It's
Mhm.
abundant about whatever needs to happen. It will continue to be abundant because that's the choice I'm making, and that's what we get to do. My point is that we get to do. We see what we want to see.
Yes.
What do you want? What do you want to see? I want to see the truth about God as I know God.
Mhm.
I am God. I am. So everything can flow through me. And I say, this beautiful thing, bring whatever needs to happen so that can happen, so that this can get fixed. Whatever needs to happen, bring it my way or their way, whoever needs to get it. Just bring it. And that's that. I'm not going to,
Mhm.
not doing that.
Because what we see up here appears into
It's
and
exactly,
manifests in our lives. And
exactly
it creates
correct.
an experience for us. So, in every moment we have a choice to see something different.
Every moment, every moment.
We can have a different experience. Yeah.
Exactly. And even if we fall into the paradigm, the rules or whatever, the consciousness that we used to have, even if we for a moment fall into that, we could
Mhm.
just say, oh, no, King's X, that's not the truth. Here's the truth. And just, we don't have to live with it. We don't have to go, I'm being punished now because I had that thought. No, you had that thought and now you're having a new thought. That's what this is, new thought.
Yeah.
So have a new thought. That's all. It's okay. Have another thought and let it go
Mhm.
and live the truth that we know. the truth that we know. We can do, we know the truth.
I don't know who it was I just was listening to, and he said, look, we're making stuff up anyway. Just make up something good.
How about that? Okay, we're creating as we go. Just create some good stuff. Create good shit. Just create it. Just create good stuff.
Yeah, you can either spiral down or spiral up. So he said, when we're spiraling down, we're making stuff up about how devastating or how this thing is not going to work. How about if we think instead about how all the ways it can work and be so much more than we ever imagined?
Exactly.
How about that? Don't go there because life teaches us something else, or we're stuck in a particular pattern about things.
Right. Or the stories we've been telling ourselves. We've told these old stories. You can tell a new story. It'll be just as true. You don't have to tell the old story. Tell the story. Yeah.
And it is a healing in our lives. So I think we heal ourselves. We can heal ourselves in every moment. We can heal from something else.
We can
choose a new thought. And that's why I love new thought.
I really do.
One of the things
I love the two of you. Yeah, well, the two of you, just because you're just talking about having a new thought, and just a couple of weeks ago, I was having a difficult time. I put the thing on, I put my foot down on kicking my own self all the time, and the two of you said, stop it. Cut that out. You already know the truth. Put your foot down, stop kicking yourself, and move on. Okay, so I get caught up in a crazy thing. And that's why you surround yourself with people who know the same truth you do, so they can remind you when you forget, because sometimes we do, what the truth really is. And so I thank the two of you for that, and all the other people in New Thought that helped me remember the truth of our life and what's possible for us. So thank you.
Yeah, that was because yes, we were there for you. We listened to everything you had to say. We let you say what you needed to say in that moment. Yes. And then we said, yeah, we get that. We hear you. And give yourself some grace.
Exactly.
Give yourself some grace. And in your sharing, that's why we thanked you. I mean, that's a healing for us to have that experience again as friends and as sisters to share in each other's lives. And we're always learning from each other and reminding each other of things. And Melinda's, I still want to have this healing discussion with her.
I know. Yes, I agree.
She does bring another facet of it.
She does.
Into being. And I know she had some insight, especially now that she's dealing with this thing with Bob.
Absolutely.
She's had some huge insights and growth and some evolution in all of this. So
so we'll have this healing part 3.
I know.
When she comes back. Yeah, we'll do that.
So we are 3 minutes for we're cut off. So really, did you have a final thought?
You got about 10 seconds. That was my final thought. It's time for your final thought, because we're going to get cut off in about 5 seconds.
I think just continue to be open. Continue to be open, and to let your understanding of God evolve. To be open to that.
That part.
Because it changes everything.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
So thank you for being with us. realtalksisters@gmail.com. You can check in with us, ask questions, make show suggestions, and we are on realtalksisters.com. That's our website. So we love you. We love that you were here with us. Thank you, Linda Perry, for being here again and making some comments. And Pjae, I love you. Zoe,
I love you too.
Love you.
And Zoe, I think Zoe's podcast is going to be this Saturday, right? And Zoe it is
Saturday.
There you go. All right.
And so it is Stories of Truth, Transformation,
absolutely.
Triumph.
That's coming up this Saturday, the 3rd of August. So there you go.
He's a special man, and we love him. So yes, check out his show.
Don't miss that out. Don't miss out. So many great shows.
And we are out.
We are complete.
Scene.